This conference will now be recorded.
I can tell
So,
Brian's in a wound up mood today.
not really.
Oh,
I'm not prepared as usual. I don't even have a topic, but we're we're,
God.
we're going to
Are
talk
you
about
happy now, Jim?
fiber lasers and frequency and some stuff, maybe. So, anyway, um, I guess we should do the kind of loosely follow our guidelines, at the beginning to see if there's any newcomers that want to say hey or have an issue or a question or something like that, or a not so newcomer. If you have any questions or any comments, feel free to pop in at any time. Really, that's the purpose of this thing. Otherwise, we'll just jaw about all kinds of stuff. So,
Yeah, you guys should introduce yourself too.
I'm Brian. I am not wearing a Thunder shirt today, but I have for the past 3 years, probably every single day of my life. Today's different. I burnt a few of them up, so uh, I've got some more coming and got some in the wash. Anyway, I'm one of the technical guys for Thunder, and that's pretty much it with me. Chris, what about you? CeeLo?
I am also one of the non-technical technical guys with Thunder, and I don't have a Thunder shirt on. I am supporting our police though.
Awesome, awesome. So technically, Jim is the only one that could probably. Well, I got a Thunder hat on, but Jim is probably the only one that could look like a more of a Thunder person in a short period of time. He could just grab his hat and throw it on.
Yeah, I could grab my hat and throw it on, but I was in the
Yeah.
spray booth today and I wasn't going to get paint all over it.
And Chris Myers is our other tech guy, and he's buttoning up some other things right now. Um, so
I'll do
trying
my
to see if there's
usual. I'll do my
okay.
usual and call people out.
Call
One of the
people out,
newcomers. Yeah, one of the newcomers, Sean Z.
right? You shouldn't call people out.
I do it every week.
I know. So on the whole format of the thing, I still think that it'll be good if we get our bearings and go back to what we were talking about. The schedule is updated. I've already started calling it the biweekly. I changed it in the events thing. So um, next week we won't have one, and then the next week we will, and we're going to keep it like that at least initially. We are working on some advanced curriculum and some other things like that, but that takes us down a few other rabbit holes. Our main thing right now, we had a meeting with some of the marketing people because I want the support side to be on the same page, or at least have the marketing side and the sales side and the support side uh, be synchronous, in the stuff that they're saying. So we do that from time to time. So we are going to redo the cheat sheet. That's going to be the big one, and we're going to rush. I haven't told them the guys yet because we haven't had our weekly video chat about it. But we're on a little bit of a timeline, or need to establish one on getting the cheat sheet out so that we can let everybody be aware. And as soon as that happens, we're going to make the other two for the other product lines. We'll start with the Nova, and then we'll do the Odin, then we'll do the Aurora, or in whatever order we think that preference needs to be. After we get the Nova one hammered down and looking pretty, then we're going to incorporate some of that stuff and kind of change the way that we um, disseminate some of this information so that it will be easier. One of the things that we talked about, and maybe this is something, the Thunder Fam, the culture, the fabric of this, vertical market, it changes. Um, when I first started, we didn't do a lot of marketing. A lot of people didn't hear about Thunder, at least the US, when Clay first started and all that stuff, and did a great job just by word of mouth of keeping all that. But when we started, then we started getting a lot of people from Glowforge, and all of that. And I've noticed that, plus we don't have to wait on machines anymore because people had 6 months or 4 months or whatever to research the machine and get ready for it. Now they have a couple of weeks. So we're finding that the information is not getting out there, not because we're not putting it out there, not because it's not out there. We're just not disseminating it in the most effective way. And we need to make sure that we evolve that as our clientele evolves and as our client base, gets wider and more diverse. Because now people don't do the research like they used to. When I very first started, somebody would call and say, okay, I've been checking you guys out. I've been researching lasers for 6 months. I know I went and looked at a Boss. I went and looked at an Aeon. I know the difference between a plain stepper, an open loop stepper, and a closed one. And they do their homework on it and know how to work the machines. A lot of times told me stuff about them. And now it's, I want to get the biggest one you've got. And that's the research. And that's fine because they are good. I don't have a problem with that. But without doing that initial research, maybe some of the information that we assumed was getting out there the way it should have been wasn't. Maybe people were digging for it and we didn't know it. So I just want to, that my end game is to make sure that all the information is out there where you don't have to dig for it, where it's boom in your face, here's where you start, and it'll take you on a decisive pathway, for your journey, for your laser. So that's what we're working on in the big picture.
One of the things I think might be helpful for people deciding
Oh.
which ones to buy.
What's that? Your volume's a little low.
It is?
I could hear him.
Oh, okay. I was like, wow. Is basically create, in addition to the cheat sheet, this would be more on the sales side, is basically create a which laser do I need, which laser do I want, which laser would be appropriate for me. So people are not either underbuying or overbuying.
Yeah.
Because there's people out there that's got a 63 that never needed a 63. A 35 would have been done them well. And there's people I'm sure that had a 35 that wishes they had a 51.
And that's one reason we don't have the machines on click and order. You always have to talk to somebody because I've seen them talk people out of it before. You don't, if somebody's cutting paper or doing greeting cards, pop-up greeting cards, and they say they want 130 watt Nova 63, they say, no, you don't really, so it does. There's not anything on paper yet, and that stuff can come too. And that's one of the things that if we get our documentation, make sure that it flows well, then those sides can use it. You know what I mean? So anyway, Chris made it. You have to introduce yourself,
Yeah.
Chris.
Oh, me?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're doing it official this time.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so Chris Myers, Thunder Laser Tech.
The three amigos here, I guess.
There we go. I mean, are you looking for like other information?
Nah, we're
I
good.
enjoy,
Security number and maybe your driver's license number, your date of birth would work.
No, I was just trying to get it to the point that you three basically introduce yourselves in the beginning, so when people are watching these, either live or afterwards, they know basically who's tied and who's not tied to Thunder.
Yeah, that was a good suggestion. So I've got the Thunder Laser Tech in my name. I guess I don't have my last name in there, but I do have that in there. So that's a pretty good suggestion.
That's a good idea.
I'll do that next time. That gives me 2 weeks to prepare.
So I was having a little technical difficulties getting logged in. This is one of those, I was on my remote computer out in my garage that runs my machines, and I was trying to log in to the GoTo meeting. It's like, oh, you have no microphone and camera. I'm like, yes, I do. I got a bunch. So yeah,
No worries.
remote desktop got me.
So, and we got Jason on here, Rotoboss Jason. He's one of our vendors for the Rotary. You want to say hi too? You're kind of like family too, I guess.
I hope so. I've been with you since the beginning almost.
I know it, man. I know it. It's been a wild ride, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been fun for sure. But yeah, I'm Jason. I'm the creator of Rotoboss. So if you guys have any technical questions or anything like that, I would hope that I would be a point of contact for that. But I'm always open and free when available to help with that.
Sweet. And if
So, I mean,
anybody
we-
else wants to introduce themselves, they can. We'll leave it open.
And then Jim can stop bugging me now that he knows.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
we can. The cat's out of the bag, right?
Is it
No,
gonna
not
do it?
fully.
Honestly, I didn't
It-
think it was.
It's on Facebook.
Well,
It sort of is. But
Yeah.
Jason, this is recorded and live.
Yeah.
I know.
I couldn't believe you said what you said.
It's
Yeah,
on Facebook.
it's all good.
Maybe not 100% released. Just a
Yeah.
teaser.
I don't even know. Well, I mean, I
Anyways.
kind of know what you're talking about, but are we
I
moving
don't even know
on?
what they're talking about. But
They pulled a grant. That's what they
Right.
did. Yeah. No.
We haven't been having meetings in secret.
Yeah.
So since I don't have a topic, we were talking about frequency a little bit, but not with fiber. We were talking about the frequency on the RFs, but we were also wanted to talk about the fiber laser a little bit too, because they're playing with these things a little bit more. I think I haven't. Have I? I might have gotten another hour or two on that one since the last time I turned it on. So, but if anybody has any questions, like I said, just jump in and say, hey. We're not out of the first 15 minutes yet, producer Jim. What are we gonna do? Do you have any like fill music, or can we go to commercial or something?
Well, Sean could introduce himself.
There you go. He's causing trouble again, calling people out. So, well, Chris's, do you have anything? I think that's funny.
It's been a fun week.
I'm sure Sam has something to say. He always has something to say.
And now you put me on the pedestal. Thank you very much, Jim. I was waiting for that invite. So what's the Rotoboss secret that's up on Facebook? I mean, what's the deal?
I guess it's not on Facebook. A teaser is. Jason's been teasing.
So what's the teaser? I know he's been teasing for a month and a half now, and we still don't know anything other than it's a secret.
I told them check it 4 times a day. They do
There's a
that.
video going around.
Shush. Not you. Sorry.
You just got canceled, Chris.
Yeah, I mean,
It's not
It's
my
in the
video.
but it's in the Facebook groups.
Man,
So,
you're just ruining it.
my
Yeah, there's
bad.
somebody
Would
out
somebody
there
like to post a link in the chat to this secret video that's not out there? Because I don't
it's
have
not
access.
really-
I'm driving.
There's some company out there posting videos. I don't know who the hell it is about some kind of weird ass looking rotary. And we're surmising that it's Jason because he's been teasing, but we don't know who exactly it is yet.
Man,
Someone
I-
trying to beat me to the punch, I think.
I had
That-
found it. And
that was
I
the worst. That was the worst back pedal I've seen in a long time.
What?
That crap that Jim just said. Okay. Yeah, we're getting off task. So does anybody have a laser question that doesn't have to do with some weird new rotary that we don't know anything about?
Hey, you wanted me to fill three more minutes, so I was trying.
Yeah. Well, you did good. You did good. We filled a few. I guess, Sam, we won't know until they do some sort of unveiling. I was kind of interested too, but I'll just kind of go with the flow. I got other things to keep me busy in the meantime until I see something pop up. So
I had a strange one on my fiber the other week. Just now remembered it. The the red dot pointer. You're supposed to draw your little frame boundary. It only wants to draw. So say I've got a grid of 6x4, whatever, of circle objects that it's supposed to engrave, and I tell it to do where it draws me the square and only mark selected, right? And this is all in EasyCAD 3. I'm not fortunate on the Lightburn yet. But it only draws the top left one. But when I hit the start button, it engraves everything as I selected. And this worked in the past. I rebooted the computer, rebooted EasyCAD, and I'm still on the official release version. But I didn't know if anybody else has seen that. It wasn't a big deal because, it did what I needed to, but it was kind of frustrating. This only gave me that little tiny rectangle versus the big one. But something to watch out for. I had swapped lenses too, so I was like, maybe that had something to do with it, but everything worked fine.
I tried to swap lenses on mine. I put the other one back. I never
It
could
wasn't
get
terrible.
I couldn't ever get all of the distortion out of the corners, the bulge. I never could
So-
get it completely square.
Did you not get correction files with yours?
Not for the lens that I have, because it's a non-standard lens. I didn't get shipped with it. They were gonna send me the core files for it, for the different lenses, but I figured it's not that bad. I got the autofocus done. I did that.
Yeah.
And then you can dial it. It just didn't give me enough latitude to dial it all the way out. I could affect a change and I could make it bow in, but I never could get it where it needed to be perfectly square. So I just put the other lens back on. Plus with with a 20 watt, I probably should stick with that 110 or 120 or whatever it is anyway,
Yeah.
And I don't
Yeah.
do big things. I might do a ring or a knife or something like that, but nothing major. I think I'm gonna try a pair of handcuffs.
Oh, nice.
I want to actually draw the floral pattern. I want to do something like that, like actually place it on there and do the whole bit, like you see that guy do. I forgot who he is, but he does a lot of guns, and sells the files after he makes them. He traces it out and puts all the stuff. There's a few people. I'm sure there's a bunch of people that do that, but there's one guy that's real good. But I want to learn that eventually, and actually do it from start to finish. Maybe I'll try to record some of that.
Yeah.
That way it's more than just here's the laser outputting this pattern on some handcuffs. Here's how the pattern got generated. I don't know. Or maybe I'll just buy them and try it the first time. I don't know. I'd like to make them. We'll see how it goes. I'm not a designer. But
Before
just
I forget, thank y'all for y'all's help earlier.
You're welcome.
cool. Yeah, that's kind of crazy that did it just flake out that one time, or
Yeah, I don't know, but this
Can't
is,
really see it, but
if you look at the shape, that's 900 steps or rotation per minute, or steps per minute.
8,900.
900, and 8,000 is the normal.
gotcha.
It blew our mind.
Yeah.
Is that one of the new GDS plastic cups?
Yep.
I've been seeing those.
Jumped on that bandwagon quick.
Yeah, they look pretty neat.
Yeah, and you can get the lids. So it's just with a straw hole, no straw included or whatever. But it's just a pint glass.
But if you look at the taper, that's what you said, I guess, in the last email.
Yeah. That is a pretty strong taper.
Yeah. Also, it's a
Now,
round
which way
graphic,
were
so
you
you
running
also
it?
have the circle projection thing going on there along with it.
Hey,
we
Jim?
weren't even worried about the circle.
Yeah.
It was more of we were nowhere near what it should have been.
Yeah.
The first image I did wasn't circular, but we had the 8,000 and it squished the image. We had that set accidentally after we had already figured out the 8,900. Put it back to 8,900 and the image looked right. And I didn't even think about it when our son was like, do that Star Wars thing. And I didn't even think about the fact that it had a circle on it.
So how non-breakable really are those cups? Have you thrown one around yet?
No, give me time.
I like that it says made in the USA.
Oh, it does?
Yep.
Wow.
I know, right? Especially from JDS.
And the other thing that we learned today is actually to pay attention to the chart on the material test file. And don't look at the top when you're trying to read the bottom engravings for speed and power.
Yeah, the top numbers for power when you're trying to find and engrave power, because those numbers are at the bottom. I do it all the time.
Oh, you look at the ones for the cut because
just used to looking at charts, everything's to the left and and just forgot to look at the bottom like an idiot.
I burned the heck out of the test cup.
Did
but
you
when
burn
they're less
through
than
it?
2 cups, there's plenty. It's not a big deal to test on them.
Awesome. Yeah, I had seen those. I'd seen a few people post about those. Didn't know anybody, that actually tried them. So that's good to know.
That and the new
Got
dog
them
bowl.
yesterday.
Cool.
So with that acrylic cup, have you noticed anything like when you're lasering through, I guess no reflection or refraction or anything, or going to the other side?
Nope.
That's pretty clean.
It's crystal clear on the other side. I didn't, stick anything dark inside of it or anything.
What did you come up with? 620?
Yeah, on the 80 watt, I did 600 speed, 20 power, and I think it looks all right. There's some weird striations, but I think it's actually in the plastic. It's not because of the machine and the engraving. It's actually You can see it in the clear parts as well, in
Gotcha.
person. So,
Do you get
but
like
I
a pinstripe effect where like you get a bar and then another bar, then another bar, but it's
So
like
like it's almost like layer lines.
it's kind of like this, but it's a weird texture in the, like, not like texture you can feel it, but like a weird visible.
But if you turn the cup at the right angle, you can almost see what looks like spiral layer lines.
Gotcha.
Maybe how they make it.
Are you defocusing at all on that?
I didn't on this one. I probably should have.
I don't know. That might.
Is it,
I don't know
is
if
it
that was-
engraving like acrylic? Like regular cast acrylic? Does it seem like it's
Yeah.
engraving just like that?
We don't do enough acrylic to really give you a hard answer on that.
I mean, I did have material tape card, but you know how small those little dots are. So
And say, I mean, that'll be good for photos if it is. I might have to order
Oh,
something.
yeah. That would be. And you would think it would be cast because you wouldn't see it extruded unless they did something to it.
yeah,
Right.
It'd be
I'm
easy to cast those. You
I'd
couldn't
rather
extrude
do
that
than
anyway.
glass.
Those would have to be molded. So casting makes sense on those.
Yeah.
I don't know, CeeLo, once we get off our butts and she finishes learning it, you can teach us how to do photos on those too.
We can do it.
Now the question will be is how well does the fiber handle them?
It won't
Won't.
if it's clear.
Oh, it won't because it is okay.
If you
You can
paint
do some
it,
colored
like,
ones a little bit.
inside black, would it work
sometimes.
on fiber?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's cheats. They've done it where you do it backwards and put the flat acrylic like on metal, and what you're actually doing is going all the way through the acrylic and ablating the metal, and it's causing a burn on the acrylic. That's really what's happening. But yeah, it'll see right through that stuff.
She made it.
So talking about lasers, what were we talking about with the, we were looking up the frequency for the RF for that coherent 55
Squirrel.
watt RF tube. What?
Squirrel.
Well, did we have something else? Were we still
No,
talking about the cups? I'll quit.
No, it's just the frequencies is like 15 minutes ago. Now we're back on.
Oh, well, I said we were talking about that, but it worked into the spot size. And I thought that might be interesting to someone about how the spot size of the normal tubes, of the DC excited tubes, range from 4 to 6 millimeter. 130 watt tube is about a 6 millimeter diameter unfocused being, in the near field. On that RF tube, it's 1.8 millimeters. So it's already like a high res lens before you even focus it. Almost, even with a standard 2-inch lens. So I thought that was incredible at how much smaller that was and how much more beam density there was. And I guess that would also relate to accuracy also. Huh?
Did we get any 1.5 or 1-inch lenses?
We got lenses. They're all 2.6, and it says weird. It's written in code on the outside, and I haven't opened them yet to see what they are. I hope they're marked something like 2-inch, 1.5 inch on the inside, because they're not on the outside. It just has a bunch of numbers and letters. So I'm gonna have to figure that out. But yes, I do have some Odin optics now. Most of them are for warranty. I don't know if I have them for retail, quote unquote. But we'll get some of those too. There's a few people that are already wanting some. But are you wanting an 1.5-inch lens, or the smallest one you can get? Is that what you're after? You want to see how tight of a beam you can get? It's going to end up taking 4 hours to do a picture because your line interval is going to have to be like 0.00004.
I'll do it.
So.
I'm very impressed, and I was running the same photo of the Lions today on the Nova, and I got to dial it in a little bit more, but nowhere close. I mean, it's going to look good, but it's not. Yeah. It's not the Odin.
Yeah, I think they're going to take off too. I mean, especially for the people that have maybe coming. There's quite a few people coming from Trotec and ULS and Epilog. Gravograph. It makes a really good RF high-speed servo laser. There's a couple others out there. But I really think it's slow to get going because, the Odin's been around, 2 years? And it's been a slow start. But this Odin 32 with that coherent tube, I think is what's going to kick it right over the top. I mean, it is a spectacular machine all the way around. So, anybody else got a squirrel they want to chase? I think I've chased all mine out.
Tommy and Lois don't like doing rotaries and tumblers.
No,
Not after today, no.
Not at all.
Sorry for the quick,
Ironically-
easy softball hit. I love you guys, Tommy and Lois. Sorry.
You got
Hey,
it on
man,
a Pyburn?
What's that?
You got it on a Pyburn and not a Rotoboss?
Yeah.
Yeah, at 8,000. Yeah, I think those are at 8,000. Rotoboss 4,400. Ironically, that's what I do most of is cups for this one realtor buddy of mine. That's pretty much all I ever do that I actually make something useful on laser, unless I'm cutting out, wooden ladybugs for my grandson to paint or, things around the house or something like that. But the only product I could say I legitimately halfway regularly make are just those standard 20-ounce powder coated tumblers. And I did some for a girl that bought that K40 that I built, one of my K40 builds for many years ago. I called it Odin, which is kind of strange. It was down, or she couldn't get the rotary to work. She brought the cups over, and I did those like in a minute a piece, like a minute a cup, and you do the math on that. That's like an ATM machine running. If it's a big lot, if you have to do one that says Sam and one that says Jim and one that says Tommy, even with the virtual, you still probably have to pick each one and load them separately or something like that. But doing large runs, it's so smooth. I love the workflow.
So why haven't we created a Thunder machine and call it Thor? That'd be pretty sweet.
I don't know. See,
Odin, I guess Odin was the father almost. Odin
I don't
Heim,
know. Well, see, the first machine was a Mars, and then I thought they were going to do planets. Because when I did copiers, the print engines were planets, Pluto and Neptune and stuff like that. The Sharp series was.
It's like Android, and it was doing all desserts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard that name Thor before. I don't know where that.
He's in the Marvel comic universe. So
He carries a big hammer.
What planet is no longer a planet? Is it Pluto or Jupiter?
Pluto. No, but it's a planet again. It's a dwarf planet now.
Oh, it's back. Okay.
It's not a star anymore. They just poof. Just
It gets picked last in basketball.
It depends who's in the office that day.
It identified as a planet, so we had to readdress it.
I wasn't going there.
Okay, we got 30 more minutes before the after show.
That is why I said it the way I said it.
There goes Jim being PC again, and it just all backfires every time. So
I try so hard.
And then other lightning sort of thunder thing. My daughter loves that Katy Perry song. There's something in there about lightning and thunder. Be a good little intro, along with your AC/DC and Imagine Dragons. You could do a little mashup.
Who's the one that did the song When the Thunder Strikes? Wasn't that
When the thunder rolls, you mean?
Thunder rolls, yeah, and the lightning strikes, yeah.
Garth-
When the thunder rolls and the lightning
Garth Brooks.
Yeah, Garth Brooks.
I emailed Imagine Dragons or their publishing company or whoever represented them or their email address and asked about licensing for just like 10 seconds of that song. And the first thing they sent me was this big form before they would even talk to me anymore, and it was insane. So yeah, we're not pursuing that. I don't know how anybody ever gets any kind of recognizable, celebrity to give rights to something. It's worse
Get a
than
hold of
closing
Garth
on a
Brooks.
house. Well,
And
he's
get the thunder-
not too
and
far
get the
away.
thunder- And get the thunder rolls from him.
I could probably get Randy Travis to sign something off for me if he had a song with thunder in it. Anyway,
You just have to sing our own theme song, Brian.
We could. I could dress up as a lightning bolt. No, I'd be a cloud. You could.
Oh
You
my
could dress
God!
up
Now
as
you're
a
starting to sound like what the hell's his name? The Spin Customs dude.
Flash.
Spin
Oh.
Customs dude that does the
Yeah.
cartoon things all the time. Oh,
He does a lot of stuff over there. That's
Hey.
pretty cool.
he's actually a singer. He actually has a band. So why don't you get with him and have him do something?
We got we have
Are you
Rosanna
saying that we
on.
need a jingle? Are you
Yeah.
saying that Thunder needs a jingle?
Sure,
Dude,
might
that
as well.
sounds cheap to me, man. That sounds like having affiliates.
Is
don't
Rosanna
know.
new?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. So
I was going to say it earlier, and I left it
Okay.
alone because I calling
gonna
out
scare
He's
people.
not going to
people
come back
away.
anymore.
Rosanna, and I don't want to say ignore them, but if you got a question, Rosanna, pipe up, because if
Oh,
not,
I would.
it's all
I
gonna keep.
would. I'm really good at ignoring people.
Well, you picked a good group to ignore.
What did you say?
I don't know. I forgot. I wasn't paying any attention. So, but
Welcome,
yeah, if anybody has
Rosanna.
any, welcome. If you have any questions or comments or anything, feel free to jump in, and we'll try to help as best as we can. So,
Thank you. Right now, I'm just listening.
oh, okay, all right. So, do you already have your laser, or is it en route, or are you still looking around,
No,
or?
it's here. It's here. Actually, there's a new top for it en route.
Okay. I know which one you're talking about now. Yeah.
That
Yeah,
would
she
be
had a damaged one.
yes.
And sorry for your pain, but we'll get you all fixed up and taken care of. So, and Chris can attest, we've had these things flip upside down out of trucks and they still run
Oh,
upside
I'm
down
sure.
most. So,
I'll buy another
I know.
refurbished in a heartbeat. Let me know when an Aurora or the Odin or something drops off the truck.
Yeah. Depending on which Aurora it is, it may go into hiding. I'd like a 50 water.
Chris might bogart that one and take it to his
Yeah.
other place and do a really like frame off restore. It might take a while. So, all right. Well, yeah, I don't have a topic. So if
I
anybody
will
has
say
a
the
backup topic.
the frequencies are interesting, and I'm trying to figure out the RF2 frequencies. And yeah, I don't know if they're really going to make a difference, and we don't have full control, so that might be an issue.
I know it makes fiber. You can definitely tell a difference.
Yes,
You know,
absolutely.
it's a visible difference, a sound difference. Now you said that you got that RF to something. What frequency?
It
And
was screaming. It was 5,000 through the machine settings, and it was literally screaming. It was like a screech on a chalkboard.
Mm-hmm. So on these RF tubes, they're different than the DC tubes that are in the Nova series. Most of you guys have the Nova series, I think, on here. So we're talking about the RF tube, and it's a little different technology, and you can change the frequency. The frequency on the DC tubes is non-adjustable. So I just wanted to put that out there. But on the RF tube, now, do you remember when I was doing that thing with the guy with the YouTube channel across the pond? What's his name? Russ Sadler.
Russ.
Yeah, when I was going through the thing that he does was showing the dots, in the DC tube, how if you go too fast, the dots turn to dashes and that kind of stuff. He said he had rather output photos with a DC tube because he has found that the RF tube can actually pulse too fast. It can pulse twice in the amount of time where it should only pulse once. And I think if what he said is true, which I'm sure he's got data to back it up, I would think that lowering the frequency would help mitigate that part of it. I think that's where the frequency is going to, not necessarily PPI, but I think they're related. You know what I mean? Or how many dots per inch. But I think how fast it fires has to, it almost feels like they could be correlate with the line interval and the pulse width,
Well, and that's what they're saying. If you want a really smooth, clean cut, you're going way up in frequency, like on acrylic or something like that, and it's pulsing faster, meaning that it's got a nice, clean, hot cut.
would that attenuate the power also? Because we use dot mode or perforation mode on these 130s and stuff to score because we want to pulse it twice, even though it's
Right.
already pulsing the first time. So would pulsing and going up in your frequency attenuate your power, and to what degree? Chris might have some insight on that one.
Sorry, I was in Already Works land for a second. What was the question?
If altering the frequency of the RF tube would attenuate the power, kind of like it does on a DC tube when you use dot mode or perforation mode.
Well, I could kind of see it, right? If you're talking duty cycles, but it's really just that up, down, up, down, up, down, how many pulses per
So the
second that is
faster you
doing.
pulse, theoretically, the closer to a continuous wave you get, I would think
Right.
also.
Correct.
If you're going to look at purely, a perfect pulse signal, but whenever we pulse something, there's probably a initial spike and then it comes back down, tries a square wave. Nothing's perfect, but I'm sure there's something out there.
Yeah.
But
And this is optical too, so there's going to be some delay there
yeah,
also. You see what I mean?
I was thinking like if you were to pulse it something at say 1 hertz or 2 hertz, where 50% duty or it's up, and then real slow, your on time is a lot more before it has to fall again. So to me, it feels like you would get more effective or more heat out of it.
Yeah.
At a lower frequency.
At a lower frequency. Yeah.
Hey, I
Yeah,
got a
what
quick question. I didn't mean to interrupt y'all. I apologize. I know, Brian, you answered somebody the other day, and I just wanted to verify it. There's no way easily to convert these from 110 to 220. It's a whole different power supply and everything else that would be required, isn't it?
Some of them. And some of them are auto sensing. We have people that have plugged their 110 lasers into 220 because they put the wrong service in, and it doesn't blow everything. So, some of them are dual. But here's what will happen. You'd have to replace, I think, the laser power supply, all the relays, the contactor, other things besides just this power supply and that power supply, and maybe a few other things. But what it'll also do
everything but the wiring.
Yeah, and maybe a couple of the power supplies. But what it'll also do is 2 years down the road or 5 years down the road or a month down the road, when you call for support and your power supply blows, we're going to send you a 110 power supply. You see, because that machine is designated as a North American 110 machine. All of the parts that we're going to reference are going to be 110. If you switch it to 220, we're going to be sending you the wrong stuff. And you're going to be blowing it up again.
Well, and that's kind of, I know what this was basically for, and that might be something to talk with Grant about, is because we just read it, or she just saw it, plus the other day. So it's starting to come up more. And I understand 220 is fantastic. It runs more efficiently, but
yeah, you just have to
something that needs to scream, stop, no 220.
Yeah.
Just to, for y'all's benefit, because I would hate to see, because me being me, I would just start laughing going, well, thank you for voiding your warranty.
Right. And that's another thing, and that could do that. That could do that. Especially if we weren't consulted and given, if they weren't given any direction first, and that kind of thing.
Change the 130 and go through y'all. Hey, I need the 220 power supplies and everything else. Then that's a whole nother subject.
That's a whole nother subject. Whatever parts you get will carry whatever their OEM ones is, but you still have the problem down the line that maybe Chris and Chris don't work here anymore, or we're gone that day, and George or whoever's up here doesn't know that you have a 220 machine, and that can cause lots of problems when they're testing and all kinds of things down the road that, some problems that a lot of people don't think about. Now, in that one case, he was moving to a country that had 220 and not 110. But short of getting another Thunder and having a 220 model just sent there, and being done with it, not having to deal with shipping and that kind of thing or moving it, you can get a step down transformer to take the 220 down to 110. It's inefficient because there's a lot of stuff that goes on there. It's not efficient, but it works. And a lot of people use those. Some people buy a 220 machine and they get a step up transformer. I did that on a Gravitech or a Gravograph that I had. It was a 220 machine, and I got a step up transformer. It was 2-to-1 windings. So that's the easiest way, because then you're just changing the entire voltage going to the machine. You're not changing out the individual components of the machine. The machine is still intact the way it was made. So that's another option. But if your reason for getting a 220 is so you have more headroom in your power at the shop, so you can run 4 machines on 220, whereas maybe you could only run 1 or 2 on 110, then going through those adapters and step ups and all that stuff would just make it 5 times worse in your particular case.
No, absolutely. Like I said, I'm just, my hopes is that people still watch this and pay attention. And, this was something that I've seen lately come up. And hearing it from y'all is one thing. Anybody can go, well, no, don't do 220. But there's got to be a valid reason for humans to understand it, for lack of better words.
Yeah.
We're a little slow.
And that might be good fodder for content, for an article or something as well, so with more information. But, and I think
if nothing else, Grant can also remind people.
They can catch it on the front end. Yeah.
Yes. I think a lot of problems could be solved caught on the front end instead of everybody playing catch up.
Yeah.
Not that there's problems, of course, we love the machines and the tech support. I can't believe all 3 of y'all decided to answer me today.
That's how we roll.
Let's go this first. Yeah, you're slacking, Brian.
Speedy.
I am slacking.
So 90% of the time I go in to respond to a ticket and it already tells me that Brian Bell is in the ticket responding. Do you still want to respond? I'm like,
and then there'll be times when we'll be all in there together and I'll go to hit it and it'll kick me out and I'll be like, screw it, and I'll quit. And then I think they go, screw it, I'll quit. And then we both sit there and look and be like, is anybody going to answer these people? So yeah, it's not always.
And that's one thing that now that I'm doing some sales calls now, and a lot of people ask about support. And the fact that all 3 of us are typically sitting on our couches with our family watching TV with our laptops there, still answering questions is pretty remarkable, to be honest. We're 9 to 5, but no, we love the machine. We love the community. We love lasers. So we're on there constantly answering questions.
Yep. Even at 2 a.m, sometimes 9 o'clock, 11 o'clock, there's lots of nights that we're on there at 11. And I don't mind, but what really is disheartening when that one person says, I can't believe y'all didn't respond to me. It's been an hour. I was in there cooking dinner. It was 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night. Now, come on.
What are you doing?
Dude, get those people.
Why do you sleep? You don't need sleep.
Well, that's what the other day somewhere near Nashville hey, can somebody, no, I can't get to Nashville. You can come to me. I'm more than happy to show you what you may want to know, but then of course everybody's, well, you're close.
Yeah. If I go though, I'll have to charge $1,000 a day plus expenses because it'll have to be through Thunder. So,
is that all it is?
Yeah. Yeah. For zone 1, that's zone 1. If it's zone 2, it
airfare
almost doubles. Yeah, because then you're talking airfare and all kinds of stuff after about that. Zone 1 is about a 4-hour radius, 3-hour radius, something like that. So, and we traditionally don't have boots on the ground, so that's not something that we talk about a lot. It's something that I would like to have happen, and I still swear I would still like to have it happen for any machine, not just Thunder. I'd like to get a group of people together that are not only technicians, but just like what you were talking about, mentors. Oh, I'm really good at making door hangers. I'll show you how to make a door hanger if you want, or mess with certain kinds of woods. And I don't know if Thunder would incorporate something like that. I would think that we could, and I have the processes to do it. But I've already bought another domain name, and if Thunder don't do it, I'm going to, and I'm going to see. It's like Fiverr, where you can get on there and look for people and tell them I need this done, and if they're close to you, if they want to do it, then you'll be able to sign up. And I have a platform that I might put together about that, and I think that would be neat. And it may be better if it has nothing to do with Thunder. It may be better if it's like my Laser Gods thing that's just kind of on the side.
I agree.
You know what I mean? And that way everybody's not like, oh, well, George signed up for this thing and said he was going to come over and fix my laser and he broke everything, and then they're not going, well, Thunder sent him over there. They can say, I don't know how that might work.
Learn how to be a technician.
Yeah. So
Hey,
I don't know how that'll work.
I did follow y'all's video on the TL timer,
Mhm.
and it's spot on.
Okay.
She
Sauce or
wanted
whatever.
the air turned off.
Well,
I
not
got
off, but so that it's only on for like, I think you said it for 5 seconds after the
Instead of just
job
blowing
finished.
for no reason after. Yeah.
Yeah.
On the air. Yeah. And did you play with the exhaust any? Either the start time and light burn or the
That's next, because she wants to run all the exhausts back through the machines instead of having them on the remotes. So it's just finding that piece of literature, and I've got to order one of the, oh crap, what is that thing? The
Cord?
adapter.
Oh, so to plug a standard
So,
NEMA socket
I
into
had
the back.
one.
So
But-
because we have the fan, was it? I don't know.
Yeah.
We're, right now for the new 3580, we're just using the inline fan that we had for that other gray machine that we used to have.
Mhm.
There was no sense changing it out with the
Sure.
new fan we got from y'all. So we just have to get the plug thingy for it.
Gotcha.
But now with the new stuff in Lightburn and all, yeah, I would definitely like to have it all automated. And that's one of the things I really love about Thunder is the automation on things.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think the squirrel just ran past again about frequencies.
I just let it go.
Well, I did, like I said, I went to RD Works Land, right? I don't go there often, but every now and then it's cool because they are, of course, the original creators. They've made the controller, their software, all that jazz. So back on frequencies.
Oh.
Well, Ruida,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they allow you, all right, for frequencies, Lightburn in the layer setup only allows you to go from, I think, 0, maybe not even absolute 0, but
To 60.
60,000 hertz. Yeah. RDWorks does not have that limitation. And then it looks like also in Lightburn on the machine settings, and it's probably just something in their background coding, they only let you go to a 100 kilohertz. Whereas RDWorks, I put in 200 kilohertz and it was happy. It would write that to the machine. So I'm going to probably send Jason a ticket, say, hey, your upper bounds on some of these settings, which probably aren't used a whole lot, could use some attention. Because I could probably do the same file in RDWorks and get different results just because I can change frequencies.
It's the same thing with like halftone. Halftone on the fiber laser is able to go up to like 500 cells per inch, and that should be changed for an RF tube as well. It shouldn't be bound by the CO2 limitations.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably just because RF isn't as common, right? I don't know if there's anything
absolutely.
in Lightburn that you get to pick in RDWorks. You can tell it whether you've got an RF tube or a CO2 glass.
You do that in RD also. Otherwise, you don't get the frequency stuff on the layers because they're just stuck at 20K.
Yeah, but do you do that in Lightburn? Because all I know is I put in a Ruida controller, my dimension.
No, it's in the Ruida, and then Lightburn knows it.
Yeah, it knows it's an RF tube.
So, and I think it's as simple as he just needs to go in there, and I think it'll be easy to up that limit, that high limit. And like you said, they may have just assigned an arbitrary limit to it because nobody ever needed to go any higher than that, or it's just what they chose. So yeah.
Yeah, it does have an RF with pre-ignition. Yep, I see it.
Now,
I got a
think
question.
the tickle is on these boards. I think the tickle is on board, isn't it? Or do you set the tickle in the controller? I think it's on board.
Yeah, I haven't played with that yet. So I've just been messing with frequencies.
The Sinrad tubes have an onboard tickle. The tickle is, for anybody that cares, on an RF tube, you can modulate it just below the ionization threshold so that it'll fire very, very rapidly. And there's a little adjustment there to tweak it. Do what, CeeLo?
5,000 is what it's set for the initial on Lightburn.
Okay, so that's in the config files in the machine settings is where that is. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Am I the only one that this whole conversation is way over my head and a flock, a pack, a herd of squirrels just ran by? Can we talk about tumblers or leatherette or something, anything? I mean, you're way over my head, the tickle spot and all this other stuff. I don't need to know anybody. I definitely don't want to know your tickle spot, Brian, and I'm sorry that this is being recorded, but Jim told me I can talk some jokes.
I just thought they were talking about Elmo.
All right. I think Rotoboss Jason has something to talk about. He's got his mic on.
Yeah, I got a question. I've been having calls lately about people updating Lightburn, and a lot of them losing their files or their settings. Has that been an issue that anybody else has seen or heard of recently?
I've seen it on Facebook a couple times. I can't remember that we've actually had a ticket on that.
Yeah, I've had several calls on it for different lasers, of course, but
yeah,
and all of them have the same thing in common, which is they just recently updated Lightburn.
Yeah.
So I didn't know if something.
It may have lost continuity to where the prefs file was, and that might be what it is. And if that's the case, you can go up into File, into Preferences, and load a backup preference file from a previous time, and that should bring everything back. We've got an article on that.
I seen Jason responded to somebody with that as well, but I was just trying to see how prevalent it was because it just seemed like
hasn't been
out of nowhere. I got all these calls about that.
Yeah, that's not to say that uptick isn't could be a real issue, because where there's smoke, there's fire, typically.
Yeah.
But we haven't had. Now we run a different firmware too in the controller, and I doubt that really has anything to do with it, but you never know, it could. But I don't think there's been anybody in the ticket system that I know of. Chris, have you seen that? Maybe one.
Well, there's times where it pops up and it goes back like that default 360 or something, for the steps. But the thing is, like, that's a machine setting, so it's got to be connected to the controller and initiate the write.
And write it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I have seen the updates do 360, and I don't remember what the roller diameter is, but yeah, the updates automatically revert back to 360, so they have to be changed back.
And maybe
that's because I have had a couple people mention 360 before, but it was kind of French to me. I'm like, I don't know what that means, but okay.
It's a generic, it's a generic, and if it was a 1-to-1, it's perfect. If it's a 1-to-1 rotary or a chuck rotary that has a motor on the end of the chuck and no gearing and no belts, then it's 360.
I gotta wonder. I don't use the rotary tool prompt thing. I just use machine settings, so it does a read. But I wonder if you open up that tool prompt, if it's automatically writing, kind of like what Brian's saying. It kept your preference folder or something, and it's automatically writing that first time it connects. But it's kind of weird because it's a machine setting.
I don't recommend anybody use the rotary setup tool because there's stuff in there that just is not necessary. It confuses a lot of people. Like we had one person I saw. I can't remember what page or site it was on, but someone saying that the rotary wasn't recognized in Lightburn when they were on the rotary setup menu or something.
Yeah,
I saw that. I still don't know. I still don't know whatever happened with that or what that deal was.
There's nothing in Lightburn that dictate that shows whether you're connected or not. I think they were referring to that switch, the toggle, the rotary on and off, which is useless. It doesn't even do anything for us. So I think that's what it was. Is they were expecting for a button to be there, rotary on, rotary off, and didn't understand that it already knows when you plug it in that it's there. You don't have to toggle that switch. And I think the only reason that switch
even with any kind of machine, it's like I want people to use the machine settings because there's only two settings you need to worry about, and that's the diameter and the steps. The rest of that stuff is irrelevant and doesn't do anything for you.
Well, that other stuff is just a converter for them, to use. But it doesn't have to be there. Yeah. But I actually kind of like
but
the
a lot of people-
wizardry in there because sometimes you don't want people messing around in the machine settings. They might put something in the wrong field or something. You know what I mean?
Well, that's
But,
true.
but
We don't want to messing around with the what's the bottom one where you got to put in the password typically,
Oh yeah, the factory reset. Yeah.
or the
Vendor-
factory settings, or the
Or
vendor
the
settings.
vendor settings. Yeah.
Yeah.
Vendor setting.
I don't want anybody messing. And I like that Lightburn finally said this is, important stuff. Are you sure you want to edit it? But I still like RDWorks better because it flat out password protects it, even though you can go Google the password. At least you put the lock on the door, and if somebody picks it, that's their own fault. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
But,
Well, Lightburn, I believe, used to have that a password in there as well, didn't they?
no, it was wide open. It wouldn't even prompt you not to mess with it. It would just
Oh,
open
no?
right up. Yeah. So
Yeah,
now
now
they've
you
got
have
a
a
window
prompt.
saying something, a warning
Yeah.
or a notice now. Thank goodness.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, no,
Cool.
I've seen that a lot
Jim,
recently,
wake
so I
up,
just figured I'd see if there's anybody
Yeah.
else that was having those.
I've seen it in the
conversations.
wild, but we haven't had too many of those actually in our ticket system specifically. But I have seen that
Okay.
happen. More of an uptick. And it does seem to show up, and it could be a Windows update that's doing that.
Really?
It could be all kinds of weird stuff. Well, I mean,
Well, I wonder
yeah.
too,
Yeah.
are they uninstalling Lightburn and then installing the new version? I don't know if that deletes the old press file and stuff. Because sometimes they show like no devices, but every time I do an
That's-
update,
Well,
I just run executable and it handles everything. It boots up and bam.
yeah,
I'm
that's the way you're
back in
supposed to
business.
do it. Is just install it over the old one. You don't have to uninstall
I mean,
it.
I
That might be
never went into details about it, but I just asked if they did a recent update or anything on their computer or anything, and everyone that's had that same problem, it's been a Lightburn update of some sort. I don't know how they did it. I assume it just popped up. They clicked OK. They closed Lightburn and it did its thing, but I don't know.
I think
But-
I've lost my art library.
You know,
On the last 1.2 update, not the last one, but when we went to the 1.2, I lost my art library.
oh, did you?
Yep.
Yeah, I always tell people make a backup, save your preferences as like baseline preferences, even with your machine settings, or not your machine settings, but your engraving settings, where you can save file, load file, to back it up, especially if you're doing rotary and you're switching from 30-ounce tumblers to water bottles. When you make a change, save that new preference once you get it set up. So all you got to do is reload that preference when you're doing whichever one you're doing, and all your settings will be there. So you're basically creating a library, more or less.
Yeah. Well, okay, dude, we're within 3 minutes. This is awesome. Not that it's almost over, but that we actually had some content. We had some pretty decent discussions. Travis, what's up, man? Burn up this next 2 minutes for me.
Well, yeah, I don't know what to say.
Well, how's your product coming along? I haven't heard anything about it in a while.
How's my who?
Your product.
The
Your
product. Which one?
the one that says the help wood engraving for
The what?
pictures and the coloring on wood.
Oh,
Logo.
yeah, it's doing good. So, and I've got, I just have to take some high-res photos of it and get it up on our website. But yeah, it's our metal wood is what we're calling it. So Jim got to see a picture. I wish I would have taken a picture of that one sheet that I did before I cut it all up. But it looked really. You still have a picture of it, Jim?
I think so.
And if I still have one somewhere. But yeah, it
You had-
is really cool looking stuff.
I just scrolled across that goat.
Oh, wait, no, there it is.